Okay, here's some essential exercises that I'm doing entering into week 5 for my ankle sprain. You remember I fractured this fibula here, that's healing up nicely, but with this ankle sprain I didn't do any ligament damage, but I've done a lot of peroneal damage through the tendon here. So with both the brevis and the longus that are coming down from here around the back of the malleoli, okay, at this section here I've got a big tendinopathy in there. So from about here to there, this is extremely weak. This has been very swollen. It's been flushed out. We've done a lot of physio treatment through here to loosen up the tissues, move the fluid out. I've been using my B.Phty brace, which has helped compress all through here. We've also been taping it, which really helps my movement during the day, especially because, hey, I'm on my feet all day doing physio, so I need some support there. But the biggest thing that we're working on is range of movement through the ankle because there's been so much swelling. Okay, so we need to work on that. We also need to work on the tendon strength here. I'll show you that, what the eccentric work I'm doing on that, because that's super important for me to get stronger for running. And of course the balance work, that is huge. This tendon here, or the couple of tendons through here, control my lateral movement of my foot. So I have to work quite hard on doing all the balance work specifically for the session. You also need to work on it if you've done some ligament damage here, that's super important. But for me, the tendon here is so weak, if I don't do it, I'm more likely to roll my ankle again, because that tendon helps stop me doing that. Okay, so it's gonna, imagine that tendon's holding in. I have to train that tendon, train the brain, train the tendon, strengthen the tendon, so when I'm running, I'm not gonna be wobbly and roll my ankle again, and it doesn't fatigue. I've got a long run to do, so I need to work on some endurance work in here to get that better over time. So what I work on for my range is using a power band, okay, up on a bench. Now for this, I'm going to help myself get more dorsiflexion. So I need a decent length band here that's not going to be too loose or too tight. I want the band sitting right underneath my malleoli. Okay, so it can't be on top, that's not going to help. I need it underneath so it's sitting on the talus. Now from there, that provides me with an AP glide, which just gives me a little bit of drag. So when I come forward into dorsiflexion, there's less pinch in the front. This also not only stretches out and gets my dorsiflexion range better, because it's still not like my left, and it's essential I get that right before running. But when I come forward, guess what? I'm also stretching this out. Because I've had a tendinopathy in here and all that swelling, it is so tight in there. That's why I've had all that treatment, all right? But to stretch that out is really important as well, because it's not going to function very well if it's so damn tight. So I've got to go forward and push that right up to the point where I feel that tightness, not ridiculous pain, but stretch pain. The beautiful thing about this from my side is this is my old knee problem. You might remember I had an old knee injury here from skiing last year. This helps me with my flexion as well to get that last few degrees in range that I've sort of lost a little bit because I've had the ankle injury. So working on repetitions of stretching that out, it doesn't have to be long stretches, like 5 seconds, and then come back, but I'm doing like 20 of them in a set. Okay, so rather than one sustained stretch, it is a repetition stretch for the joint rather than a sustained stretch for the muscle. Okay, that is really helpful in getting more dorsiflexion range there, which I need for running. Okay, and it's nearly like the other side, it's getting there. I still have to work on it for the next couple of weeks. So next thing, we talked about the peroneal tendon. The best thing for that tendon for me is eccentric loading. Now what I do is put this band like that. So this is quite a heavy one. You start off with, say, a yellow, then you move to a red. Now I'm on a green. From week 3 and 4 I'm doing eccentrics, but week 5 I'm still doing them because they're still really effective. I'm also doing concentrics, but the eccentric part is like this. So I put that band on the foot. So if it's my peroneal tendon, right, I want that band on that side. My right foot, I want it on the left side. What you do is avoid the concentric part and just load the eccentric part. So they get a rest between each rep. I'll show you what I mean. So if that's concentric, okay, I don't want to do that under load. So what I do is come back until that band's loose, see that? Then go into that eversion, and I can already feel that tendon when I do that, right? So I know there's already just moving like that is load. Then what I do is keep it everted, right? So I've got to keep it everted, slide my foot until that tension's pretty heavy. Watch this, and then roll my foot slowly inwards, so I'm moving my foot into eversion, which is eccentric eversion. Okay, so moving from eversion to inversion is eccentric eversion. Then I slide it back, reset. So you go outwards, feel where that pain starts, bring it out, roll it in. Very slow. Now you'll notice I'm in plantar flexion. I don't want to be in dorsiflexion because that's going to work on my tib and my tertius. Okay, I want to work on my brevis and my longus. Okay, so if I'm in dorsiflexion, that's not going to help me too much because it's going to get babysat by the tib and. So I want to set in a bit of plantar flexion when I do that eversion and come out. And you can see how slow these eccentrics are. But this has increased my tendon strength the most, doing eccentrics. And the interesting part about it is the rep range is 5 or 6 reps and 5 or 6 sets, not 3 sets of 12. So it takes quite a long time to do it. But it's very interesting that if you get 6 sets done, but the load is high, but you keep the reps low, that's the little trick. Okay, and I'll keep working on that, and it's going to be different to the concentric. So working on that clever eccentric work has made a massive difference to that tendon, and it's one of the secrets for me getting back to running. So the control work's next. Now I'm doing quite a bit on that. With my control work, what I want to work on is one-legged balance. All right. The first thing I do is, when I do this sort of in order, is try and go for changing my center of gravity, but keeping a stable surface. So I go from one-legged balance, which I was doing previous weeks, to shifting my body weight in what we call a compass. Now, this is like a star excursion test for a knee return to sport test, but what I do is go into a little bit of dorsiflexion and hip flexion. Okay, so if you look at me this way, it's dorsiflexion, hip flexion. Okay, once I've got that position there, I want to try and balance on one leg and reach forward and tap the floor and then straighten up. Every now and again I have to put my foot down because I'm not 100% with this, and reach back, tap the floor. You can see I'm a bit wobbly with that, right? Reach over, tap the floor. Reach over, tap the floor. Every now and again, I'll put weight down. The idea is not to do that, okay? The idea is to try and hold myself. You can see I'm not 100% yet, and just tap forward, regain my balance, tap backwards, regain my balance, like this, okay? You can see that's quite hard. I suggest you do this, if you're going to do this yourself, in bare feet. If that's too hard, go back into a shoe, but you're aiming for barefoot for this one, so that you can see that's quite hard, right? It's also working heaps on my glute, all right? So to control myself, my brain is using my hip, which is what I need for when I'm running. So this is great. If you're feeling it up in here when you do a compass exercise, you're doing the right thing. So I actually want to feel it more in the muscle, helping my chain control, rather than feeling it in my ankle or making my ankle sore. So when I do this, I don't feel my ankle soreness at all. Only a little bit, if it wobbles a little bit, you'll feel a little bit of that peroneal tendon weakness, but it's not really pain. Okay, so once I've done that, then I migrate to something wobbly. Okay, but I'm not going to do a compass on this. For this one, this is a wobble cushion. Okay, now if you've got one of these are great because this makes now the surface really unstable. All right, so in here, what I'm going to try and do is do the same thing about the knee and the hip. I'm going to try and stand in the middle of that wobble cushion and see how long I can balance. Now you can see how I'm working quite hard to control it, but the movements are not too gross. Every now and again I'll step off, but I'm in no danger of rolling my ankle with this. Okay, I've got my other foot to put down, and if I go too far, I'll always put it down by default. I'm aiming to try and stay there for 30 seconds in one spot with a bent knee and with a bent hip. I don't want to stand there straight, okay? I want to make sure that I'm in that same position that I would be if I'm running up hills or benting, squatting. I want to make sure I can do my balance work in that same position, okay? So 30 seconds at a time with that. There might be 3 or 4 sets of that. Once I've done that, then I move to the BOSU. So this week, what I'm trying to do is just stand on this BOSU. Once you've got good control of this, there's all sorts of things I'm going to be doing on this, but for today, I want to just be able to balance on it. The trick with the BOSU is, if you have it too far away from something, it's not going to work, it's probably a bit unsafe. So move a bit closer, something you can hold on to. Foot has to go right in the middle, okay? You'll find that you'll have to go and put the other foot on the back, go into the knee flexion, go into the hip flexion. Stay there, take your foot off. You can see I'm still holding on here, right? The mission is, can I stay there and balance? I find this is actually a little bit easier than the wobble cushion, okay? So what I'm going to try and do is go there for longer. And at the end of the day, what I'm going to be doing on this is harder things. I'm just getting used to this exercise, all right? The wobble cushion is sort of a little bit harder, and I'm going to use that to get good at, so this becomes easier and easier and easier, all right? So this one's really important as well. All this is doing, okay, is training my brain, training my hip control to help me with my ankle control, and at the same time using my peroneal tendons to do, you saw that little movement that was going on, use those tendons to do that, and with, get that neuromuscular strength going, but it also just gets the strength going as well. Doing these exercises strengthens the tendon up, okay? That's what I'm going to need to have any chance of running. Otherwise I'm going to go running and it's going to fatigue straight away and get pain. So there's my new stuff entering into week 5. We'll see you next time.